Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Looks good. All right. Woo. Okay. Okay. And we are good on Restream. We're going good. Facebook is Facebook connected. YouTube live. YouTube is live. Okay. I gotta go. I gotta do it. I don't know. Facebook says online, but I can't tell. There's a problem with Facebook. Okay. Well, I can't see it, but it's live. All right, guys, let's do it. I'm just gonna go, man. I'm just gonna go. Hey, guys, how you doing? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to the Tim Black at Night Show. Glad you could be here. Welcome to it. Happy to have you, my people on Periscope, my friends on Facebook, my partners in crime on YouTube as well. Tim Black's Wolfpack all the way around. Happy, happy, happy day. Happy joy. All right, last week, Friday, Freedom Friday, we had to be postponed because we had a computer glitch issue. I've got it resolved as best I could. I think we're all good to go on that. So this week, I know we're definitely going to have Freedom Friday this week, no matter what happens, unless I get hit by a bus or something. And don't wish that on me. I know I got people trolling sometimes. Gotta have trolls. You don't have any trolls, you ain't doing something right. So, but yeah, we're going to have Freedom Friday, and I want to have a makeup day, a day where people can just call in. I'm thinking about doing that. Maybe we'll do it during the coffee show on Wednesday when we do that for JNF. So go to justinform.com, guys. Sign up at justinform.com because I'll be doing a coffee show there on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're available during the day, go there. So, yeah. A lot's happening. I hope all systems are go. According to my setup, we look good. Everybody looks to be here. We're on Facebook. I got my friends on Facebook there sharing it to groups. Now would be a good time to share it to any platform, any of your social media profiles, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or wherever you are. Let people know that we're out here. The TBTV, Take Back Television, Tim Black TV, is the largest, most watched Black independent media on the left. And we are proud of that. We've been at this for almost 8 years, and we're proud of what we do. Share us with your friends. Hey, you got more than, look, watch everybody. You know, watch a lot of folks, but just add us to your rotation. I think we bring something dynamic and unique to the space of progressive media. So, tonight we're going to cover a couple stories. Trump tax returns. We got to talk a little bit about that. We got a clip I want to share with you on that. I got my special feature tonight, though, is Alyssa MIlano and where activism goes wrong with Trump derangement syndrome. So that's my heavy-hitting piece. We're going to lift with that at the very end. But I'd like to get it started off talking about Bernie and Biden. But before we do that, a moment of silence for Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, who today turned himself in. He is to serve a 3-year prison sentence for a number of actions that he committed, most of them done while he was under the employ of Donald Trump. And I would just like to point out how wrong that is, because the crimes are if you get sent to jail for what you did for someone else and they don't go to jail, that's kind of crazy. And I know I've seen a lot of, here's the thing, guys. There are no absolutes, right? We have to keep in mind there are no absolutes. I'm in the middle of reading the Mueller report, the actual 458-page document, and it's becoming apparent to me that there's no absolutes. Like, just because you know that, of course, there has been adversarial actions been taken against Donald Trump to take him down, to bring him down. He's not who they wanted to be president. Don't let anybody fool you. That does not mean that Donald Trump is squeaky clean. That does not mean that Trump hasn't done things that violated the law or broken the law. Okay? You can have two things can exist at the same time. You can have a media that's going after Trump in every way it can to bring him down. And you can have Trump breaking the law too. Both things can happen. Now, to what extent can be different. We could talk about the extent. We could talk about how much of the law was broken. We could talk about what other presidents may or may not have done. But what I'm seeing a lot of, and it's very disappointing, very disheartening, is I'm seeing a lot of people, there's got to be one way or the other way. Right? And it's not true. You can be a good guy and you can steal a battery from a car. You can be a bad guy and you can help an old lady cross the street. These two things can exist. You can be a great mom and sometimes get too upset sometimes, have a quick temper and say things you shouldn't say to your kids. And you could be a good dog, but you can go potty on my rug, my great rug, the rug I just got cleaned. And I was like telling you, stop, I've been training you, I just walked you. Why you go to the bathroom with my great rug, man? Darn it, Brutus, I'm this close to taking you back to the shelter. But that doesn't mean you're not a great dog. And why, we know this, right? We know this intuitively, we know it, we get it. But we got to get it when it comes to this investigation stuff. I am in no way co-signing the continuous, mountainous, ravenous repeating of Trump collusion. I'm not on that, okay? I'm not feeding into that. But what I'm saying is, there's a damn good case for obstruction, and we'll get to the bottom of that as we finish that Mueller report. All right. Trump popularity. Okay. How popular is Trump? Trump is very popular. Let's go to that. All right. Donald Trump is more popular than ever before. Donald Trump is the only president in modern history that never cracked 50,000 or 50%. 50% job approval in Gallup's weekly tracking poll of how Americans perceive the job that the president is doing. But in the latest Gallup results, Trump has a 46% approval rating. This is the highest mark he has reached in more than 2 years as president. Yes, more people still disapprove of Trump in the job he's doing. 50% didn't approve of it. And yes, again, Trump has come close to 46% approval before. He got to 45% in June 2018 and in January 2017. And yes, for a third time, there's no meaningful statistical difference between 45 and 46, says you, Saliza. But still, this is Donald Trump, a man who has struggled much of his presidency. And now he is at the top of his rating at 46%. Folks, this is kind of a big deal. It's a big deal because they've been throwing everything they can at Donald Trump, right? And still, he has the resilience of, I don't know, man, what is this? He's a cockroach after they dropped the nuclear bomb. Back when I was a kid, there was a movie called The Day After. And it was supposed to be a dramatic, fictional story, but also realistic about the portrayal of what would happen if there ever was a nuclear warhead was launched on the planet, what would happen? And it was the day after was everybody be dead. Like most people dead, the fallout of the radiation would be horrific. And the only thing, according to this movie, that would survive, or one of the only things that would survive, would be the cockroach. They're the cockroach. Now, my dad's from Washington, D.C., and spent some time in Washington, D.C., visiting grandparents, I would see cockroaches, big cockroaches, the big water bug kind, the kind that make a sound if you stepped on them. Those suckers are resilient. Now, I'm not saying Donald Trump is a cockroach. What I'm saying is we don't have orange cockroaches. But what I'm saying is Donald Trump is resilient like the cockroach. The media is to Donald Trump what a nuclear catastrophe is to the planet. Some of my SAT stuff came back. So, look, man, this is where we are. That's an simile. This is where we are. What I'm saying is they've thrown everything they can at Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is still at 46%. He's at the highest approval rating that he's ever had. Ever. And you got the Mueller report, you got the grabbing people, they got people, Michael Cohen, his lawyer goes to jail, the people pleading guilty, all this going on for 2 years straight. And the man is at 46%. Look, hey, we are independent here. We try to call it like we said. Of course, I lean to the left, but people need to realize that me leaning to the left puts me at odds with the Democratic Party as much as it puts me at odds with the Republican Party in most instances. In fact, as Tulsi Gabbard said, the primary people that challenge me, that hound me, that troll me are Democrats, not Republicans. They kind of let me go about my business. It's always been that way. So, I say this with no bias at all. I'm saying this realistically speaking. Donald Trump is continuing to maintain, and not only maintain, he's higher than he's ever been in the polls. So what do we attribute this to? All right? We attribute it to money. The economy is doing well. People hate to admit that the economy is doing well. That don't mean it's doing well for you or me. I mean, as for me, I've made some. If I was focused on economics or financial stability, I made a real bad choice. Independent media is not where you go if you want to be financially stable. Let's just keep that real. It's the worst choices, financially speaking, I've ever made in my life, but I love what I do. And you may be in a similar situation, but just because we're doing well as a country statistically, a lot of this is about corporations doing well. We all know this. But as far as the same numbers that they use with Obama, that they use with Clinton, because they always pad the numbers, they make the employment numbers, make the president look good. We can't go changing them now because Trump's in office. The numbers made Obama look like he was doing better than he was doing, like we were doing better than we were doing. This is how they do the numbers. They were fudged under Obama, they were fudged under Clinton, they're fudged under Trump. Doesn't mean everybody has 3 jobs though, but some do. So as long as the economy is doing well, for the majority of people that supported Donald Trump, as long as they are doing okay financially, they're going to have approval ratings highly at Donald Trump. I mean, if mama ain't happy, daddy ain't happy, and the kids ain't happy, and if the bills aren't paid, ain't nobody happy. So we kind of get where this is going, right? All right, so Donald Trump's approval ratings are high. I find it ironic after all of the Russian interference, collusion, that he could stay in the pocket and still be able to have this type of showing in the polls. And it's amazing how people don't want to say it. You don't want to say, Donald Trump's doing well in this regard. He is. It's numbers, it's statistics. Now, numbers can be made out to say different things, but yeah. So you got a grin and bear Democrat, neoliberals, those who lined up behind Hillary. You wanted Donald Trump to go against Hillary. You said, hey, Hillary can't beat anybody else in the Republican field, but we think she can beat Trump, so we're going to elevate Trump. And now we got Trump. And now Trump's, everything you throw against him, it don't stick. It just doesn't. All right, so, wow. Okay, moving on. Did I do a moment of silence for Michael Cohen? I meant to do a moment of silence for Michael Cohen. Can I get a moment of silence for Michael Cohen? I'm not even being funny, man. 3 years is a long time to spend away from your family. I mean, unless you choose to spend it away from your family. Sometimes people need a break. What I'm trying to say, if you're unhappy, maybe you need to go. That's all I'm saying. All right. Let's move on. Since we're on Trump, let's stay on Trump. Let's go to tax returns for 200.
Richard Neal, who had requested this information using an IRS section known as 6103 that he said gave his committee the
Democrats their demand to see the president's tax returns. Let's go to CNN's Lauren Fox. Lauren, what are you hearing?
Well, we just heard from Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin that he will not fulfill that request for 6 years of the president's business and personal tax returns. That request coming from House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal, who had requested this information using an IRS section known as 6103 that he said gave his committee the power to ask for this information. This is, of course, breaking news and escalating this fight for the president's personal and business tax return information. Now, Richard Neal has a few options. He can basically sue, go right ahead and say that the Treasury Department is not fulfilling their legal obligation for this information, or he could file a subpoena on top of that and then go to court that way. So those are a couple of the options. We have not heard yet from Richard Neal, this request being denied just moments ago. Wolf?
And it's not a surprise, Lauren. We never anticipated that Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, would go ahead and do this. So I assume the Democrats, Richard Neal and the House Ways and Means Committee and other Democratic leaders, including the Speaker, they have a game plan in mind to take immediate action.
Well, absolutely, Wolf. You know, from the very beginning, Richard Neal has been clear that he's been building and preparing for a court case. He never expected this to come easily. Back when I interviewed him in November, he said that this was all about going slowly, being careful, being deliberate, making sure that all the ducks were in line for when the inevitable court case came to be. And obviously, it seems like we're moving forward with that sooner than later.
Okay. Wow, so we're talking about another lawsuit against Donald Trump. At this point, it seems like they just filed lawsuits against Donald Trump just to do it. You know, like, okay, I guess, I hate Trump. Okay, what do you want to do about it? I don't know, what can I do about it? You can file a lawsuit. What if he's found guilty, or what if I win? Nothing. So basically, me filing a lawsuit is a waste of time? Yeah. Okay, file it anyway. It'll raise my profile. That's how it appears to me. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. That's how it looks. All right, so let's unpack this just a little bit about the tax. Donald Trump will be the first president since Lyndon B. Johnson, or something like that, maybe even earlier than Lyndon B. Johnson, not to turn over their tax returns. It's been at least 60 years since a president did not do this. Something like that, right? Somebody give me the real number on that, okay? Earth 2 Trump supporters. I know you like Trump, but we do not want to be Trump mind control, do we? I mean, you got to realize that there's a reason why he doesn't want his tax returns turned over. It is not because he just likes privacy. Come on. It's too much fallout for it not to be a real strategic issue. There's a reason. That reason has nothing to do with he don't want you to know. It has something to do with it might hurt him. I mean, come on, guys. You were worth $1 billion plus or whatever. That's bragging rights, right? Come on, Trump loves to brag. This is the guy had gold toilets and took cameras in to show the world. He didn't have to do that. Trump was popular for being showy and gregarious way before he ran for anything political office. It's his nature. When he was just a private citizen, he was showy, just out, just look at me. And now you say he doesn't want anybody to look at him? There's a reason for it, and it's not because he's shy. He was guarded in, he's gaudy now. Never at a lack of patting himself on the back. So, second thing, Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin will not force the tax returns to be exposed. But I got to ask a question, guys. What do you expect? I mean, come on, that's his boss. Now, we know what's ethically right, what someone could do, but how often do people do what they should do? How often do people put their necks on the line and do what's the right thing to do? I mean, these are politicians at this point. They do what's expedient. They do what's in their best interest. They do what protects their wallet. Steve Mnuchin is no saint. He should have been locked up for his One West company that defrauded and took homes and threw people on the street in California. And if it weren't for Kamala Harris not doing her job and being ethical, then we wouldn't have a Steve Mnuchin as Treasury Secretary. And then maybe you'd know what Donald Trump's tax returns are. But I doubt that. You may expect some things out of Steve Mnuchin, but would you expect them out of an Obama Treasury Secretary? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. In fact, this wouldn't even be a conversation. If Obama had chosen not to disclose his tax returns, would the Democratic Party really put up a fuss? Would the liberal media, liberal corporate media, would they actually be talking about this? Probably not. They'd probably say you were racist for wanting to talk about it. But he didn't do it, so it's a hypothetical, so don't hold me to it. All I'm saying is, I don't agree with Donald Trump withholding his tax returns, but I do see their strategy in it, and it's sad that people defend him not disclosing his tax returns. And what do you expect a scumbag like Steve Mnuchin to do? All of a sudden find Jesus? He's running from Jesus. He ain't trying to find Jesus, he's running from Jesus. If he cared about doing the right thing, he never would have foreclosed on those homes illegally, defrauding those people, selling their homes. So what do you expect? So take him to court, waste some time, get some airtime, get some more publicity. It will not hurt Teflon Don. You're not going to stop Donald Trump by bringing up his tax returns. People care more about their tax returns than they care about Donald Trump's tax returns. It's funny how that works. Tie that into my earlier segment about his approval rating. It's all about the money. All right, guys. Now, this is where I tell you that this show, I remind you that this show is brought to you by you. Yeah, you. It's brought to you by you. It's not brought to you by the DNC. Those guys wouldn't have me. Get out of here. Get out of here, Tim Black. You're a loose cannon, Tim Black. We don't know who you're going to call out. Can't be calling out our legacy media, our decrepit, better media. You know, it's not brought to you by the RNC. Get out of here, Tim Black. You're a loose cannon, Tim Black. We don't know what you're going to say next. You won't fall in line with Trump and you won't join the Democrats. We don't want you. Unless we can use you to hurt the Democrats, then we'll kick you back out. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is support the Tim Black Show by going to patreon.com, Tim's Take Live, become a member today. All right. Join the Wolf Pack. All right. So we did Trump tax returns. We did Trump popularity rising despite all they know. Bernie hits Biden. That's the one we want. We want Bernie Biden.
Discussion in a very civil
up and have the guy make a run for it.
To believe that our trade policies over the years have been a disaster for workers in this country. If you add the job loss as a result of NAFTA, which Joe voted for, Joe is a friend of mine, and we're going to have this policy discussion in a very civil way.
Welcome back to Harvard. That was Senator Bernie Sanders taking a swipe at former Vice President Joe Biden just last week. And while Biden's campaign has focused almost exclusively going after Donald Trump, Sanders is attacking the early Democratic frontrunner, Biden. Biden said on Saturday he had no plans to attack his other Democratic rivals.
I'm not going to speak ill of any Democrat during this campaign, unlike some other Democrats now. That's not useful. The last thing the Democratic Party has to do is get in a big fight. That only benefits Donald Trump.
But Sanders is not hesitating to draw distinctions with Biden, going after him, offering his response to Biden's claim of having the most progressive record of anyone running. Here's Sanders.
Joe is a good friend of mine, and I'm not here to attack Joe. Joe voted for the war in Iraq. I led the effort against it. Joe voted for NAFTA and permanent normal trade relations, trade agreements with China. I led the effort against that. Joe voted for the deregulation of Wall Street. I voted against that. I think if you look at Joe's record and you look at my record, I don't think there's much question about who's more progressive.
Well, as the battle begins, the most powerful Democrat in the country has a dire warning for 2020. And that's coming up next.
Oh, God. All right. Yeah. Hilarious. So Biden won't attack Bernie, but Bernie's attacking Biden. I think this is good. This is exactly what should be happening. Exactly. This is what Bernie needs to do. He needs to mix it up. To all those people out there who relentlessly comment in my comment sections on YouTube telling me Bernie don't really want to be president, he just sheep herding you back to the Democratic Party. Why would he run, man? See, sometimes the theories start to buckle under the reality of facts. Like if Bernie didn't want to become president at 70, almost 75 years old, would he be putting himself through this? Would he? I don't think he would. It makes no sense at all. No logical sense. And he definitely wouldn't be going after Biden. Oh, it's to throw you off the scent, right? It's to fool you. All this is to fool you. Those hundreds of offices, our revolution offices, all a clever ploy. You sound like the Dave Chappelle skit where the cops come, they find him in a nice house, and then they shoot him or they hit him upside the head and say, likely story. This black guy broke up in here and hung up pictures of his family everywhere. Like he broke into a house and hung up pictures. That's the same. I just did bad on that joke. That wasn't good what I just did. But you get what I'm saying, right? You guys actually think that Bernie's doing all this just to hand it to the Democrats. Like he's not challenging the status quo. He's going up against Biden. He's hitting Biden. He don't have to hit Biden. He's hitting Biden because he does want to win. Oh, Biden's a good guy. I've known Biden. Whatever. Bam, bam, Biden. Rib shot. All right. And so why isn't Joe Biden hitting back? Because Joe Biden's not stupid. I mean, he may be a creep, but he's not an idiot. He may be a bigot, but he's not an idiot. All right? That's the way I see Joe Biden. Joe Biden's doing the right thing. He's the front runner, according to fake polls that are inflated, that CNN has been propagating through their company, RSS, or SSRS, or whatever the name of it is, that put out that horrible, Biden's up 25 points. We only talked to people over 55 years old that lived right between New Hampshire and New Hampshire. They had to make over $100,000 a year. All of these parameters were not explained or identified or shared with us as CNN shared this information about the poll. Back to my point, what Bernie's doing is he's staying to the issues. He's not calling Joe Biden a scumbag. He's not calling him a bigot, even though he was against busing. He was against desegregation. I mean, Biden's got a horrible record. It don't just stop at the freaking crime bill that he wrote, or the Patriot Act, or the NAFTA and TPP, and, a lot of Iraq war. Like, it keeps going. Every day I discover a new clip of Joe Biden that's horrific, that underscores why he should never be president. And I've seen him on the campaign trail. I watched some footage today of Joe Biden on the campaign trail, guys. He does not need to be on the campaign trail. Somebody need to go get Joe. I mean, they dusted Joe off and said, Joe, you got to go out there and stop Bernie. No one else can do it. We're going to end up having to give these people free health care. Get your ass out there, Joe. Joe wanted to go in his Corvette and mind his business and drink his 30-year-old scotch. Instead, they got him up on the campaign trail looking delusional, losing his place, and he's stammering. And it's not the stammering that Obama used to do that was kind of cool. Listen. No, it was the type of stammering where he just totally forgot where he was, okay? Doesn't even know. Biden, you're on stage, buddy. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. You're up here. Get in there. Wake up now. Come on now. Come on, buddy. I cannot abide the Biden. I cannot abide the Biden. Stamp it. It's hilarious, you know. And some of the stuff that Bernie's calling Biden out for, this is because he's just saying anything when he's up there on the stage. I think he was in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, that's what it was. And he's up there, well, I want y'all to know that we had a program where we looked at the inner city, you know. It's just slow and monotonous and monotone. People falling asleep. The camera guy had to get hit with the flaps, the pads, clear, just to wake him up so he can man the camera because Biden's putting everybody to sleep. And Biden's up there talking about, we had a program, we literally went to the hood to talk to the blacks in their native land of the ghetto. We saw an actual liquor store on every block. It's just horrible, just saying things he shouldn't say, screwing up. But the gaffe machine, which is Joe Biden, when he says things like he is the most progressive candidate in the race, it is incumbent on Bernie Sanders to hit back. Most progressive candidate in the race. And no one on MSNBC raked him over the coals for it. Joanne Reed, if you were worth anything, you would have led with that, ma'am. Come on, there's like 8 candidates in the race that are more progressive than Joe Biden. I can name 4 off the top of my head: Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang, and Elizabeth Warren. I didn't even blink and say that. I think maybe even Amy Klobuchar is more progressive than Joe Biden. There's a busboy working at Denny's is more progressive. So anyway, it's bad. It's really bad. Okay. So anyway, Bernie Sanders is hitting hard at Biden, and he should. Now, I did a video on my YouTube channel. I wish you'd go check it out, where I talked about the latest. You know, they love to say Bernie Sanders needs help with the blacks population, the blacks. All I keep hearing is the blacks. How Bernie can't, he's not killing it with the blacks. So please go watch that video, but I'll just surmise, I'll just mention one point, because I made a lot of points in that video. Why doesn't corporate media focus on the fact that Cory Booker has almost no black support and he's black? Why does the corporate media focus on the fact that Kamala Harris has almost no black support and she's blackish? Like, why aren't these things even being mentioned? Why do I keep having to hear about Joe Biden having more black support than Bernie Sanders? You don't mention in that same poll where they say that Biden has more support amongst the blacks, that Bernie Sanders has a higher favorability rating. They leave that part out. They also leave out how much it cuts across age demographics. They also, for good measure, to round it up, they also leave out the fact that Hillary Clinton was polling much better with blacks than Joe Biden is right now. All right? So they leave that out. Why isn't Joe Biden doing as well as Hillary Clinton? I mean, he was just vice president of the first black president for 8 years, and he can't do better than Hillary Clinton with the black folks. He's like 30 points behind where Hillary was with black voters this time back in 2015. But no one mentions it. It takes Tim Black to mention it. That's right. So anyway, it's just facts. It's just numbers. All right, guys. So let's move on to our feature. Let's move on to our feature, man. Man, I'm really pumped up. This is what happened when I lose a Monday. I miss a Friday. I miss a day. I come in, I'm all energized. I'm all pumped up, ready to go, ready to kick some butt. I feel like the propaganda wheel kept spinning, and I wasn't in there fighting against it. So I got to come back even more, high-powered. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go with our lead story. Alyssa MIlano. I'm about to share with you a clip. I saw that Kyle Kalinske covered this. He covered a portion of it because it's such a long clip There's like 18 things in this clip that need to be digested, broken down, analyzed, and roasted over an open fire with a little hot sauce on top, throw a jalapeno in it, make sure you got a lot of water on the side, maybe a Hot Ones episode or something. You know what I mean? Like, this is serious. This is seriously a bad clip, like from bell to bell, bad, from the rooter to the tutor. It's horrible, okay? So I'm going to cover a few aspects of this clip. It's Alyssa MIlano. She's a famous actress, and she's also an activist. And here's some of the stuff that she said that she should have never said.
Use the Me Too hashtag from which this movement has grown. Alyssa, great to see you again. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
This interview took place before there were recent questions about Joe Biden and his conduct. Had you known that, or had that happened afterwards, would you have talked to him about that?
Oh, of course, absolutely. And I have spoken to him about that, just not on the record on the interview. And I can tell you what he said to me privately, which I think, for me, I wish more men in positions of power would say out loud. He said to me, "I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to listen. I didn't realize that I was too affectionate." And I think that this brings up a really important question that we haven't really touched on Me Too. And often in these moments when we're hearing these stories, I think it's important to emphasize the difference in these stories. For me, the thing that set this story, the Miss Flores story, apart from all the other stories is, to Joe, this was a cultural difference, because culturally he was raised in a family that was super affectionate. So for him, this was a realization of well, everyone sort of grows up in a different household, and maybe my actions make other people uncomfortable, and it was an acknowledgement. So I think it was important that it came out, and I think that it is important to have men support women and say, "I hear you, and I want to learn and make a change."
You and I have had this conversation before, and Stephanie and I have had it many times. If there's anything that many men have learned in the last few years, it's we have to be willing to learn. We have to be willing to change, and every man should say that.
And that's what we. And also, I'm sorry, it changes my interactions as well. I mean, I'm a very affectionate person. I walked onto set a few weeks ago, and I kissed our prop guy on the arm, and I had this moment of like, maybe that made him uncomfortable. Whereas that would have never crossed my mind before Me Too. So I think we all have to look at our interactions and, proceed cautiously.
Joe Biden is saying he's willing to learn. It's a cultural thing. Let's get smarter and better. But for many Democrats, they're saying this is not enough. When you look at it, and you've shown your support for Joe Biden, you've been pretty clear about it. You took some criticism. Do Democrats believe that Joe Biden stands up against President Trump? I mean, when you say morality versus morality, I can't imagine if Joe Biden made it to a general election, any Republican out there would start to push this narrative, given the profile the president has and the many women who've accused him of inappropriate behavior. And he has not said he'll get smarter or better. In many cases, he said, she was too ugly for me to have hit on her.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is a very distinct line between the indiscretions of President Trump, which go beyond just his accusations of sexual assault. And obviously, if Joe Biden makes it on the ticket, Joe Biden's indiscretions of being overly affectionate. But I also want to talk a little bit about Anita Hill and really just say that I know that this is an issue that has come up for Democrats, how Vice President had maybe handled that situation. And I can also tell you from my conversations with him, he deeply regrets what happened. He has dedicated much of his career, and I think we can't look at his past myopically. We really have to look at the big picture with co-authoring the Violence Against Women's Act, starting It's On Us, always being a supporter of the women's right to choose and women's rights in general, and fighting for women to be on the Judiciary Committee after Anita Hill. I mean, these are all things that are incredibly important to Vice President Biden. And I think it's important that we sort of discuss it and get it out on the table. But none of this, I think, if the country chooses that Joe Biden should be the Democratic nominee, should stop Joe Biden from being that nominee.
And still, there are many progressives, or some progressives, who say this is not enough. Is that a mistake? Are they not focused on the overall mission for all Democrats, which is to defeat Donald Trump? Earlier today, Michael Steele said Democrats have a choice. You want to be woke or you want to win. Do you agree with him?
I think it's a great point. I think, look, there's nobody in the world that wants progressive policy to be set in place more than I do. But this primary to me is not about policy. It's about beating Trump. Period. That's it. End of story. We need to nominate someone that is going to beat Trump. And bring honesty and integrity and dignity and truth back to the United States of America. Empathy, compassion, all these things that I want to teach my children growing up in this great country. We need someone that's going to represent that to the best of their ability and fight Trump. And it's not about who's going to make the best president. It's really about who's going to beat this man, this horrible, horrible president.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by
Sorry, guys, I was taking notes of some stuff that I had missed earlier about how horrific this is a train wreck. A literal train wreck. Train wreck. Okay, so at the very beginning of this clip, it was kind of cut off. What's his name? I forget his name. One of the co-hosts, he introduced Alyssa MIlano as an activist who was one of the first people to use the Me Too movement hashtag. That makes you an activist because you use the hashtag on Twitter. No, I'm an activist because in the 90s, I was working in my community to end redlining, to end police brutality, to clean up neighborhoods. I was actually doing things in my neighborhood 20 years ago, 25 years ago. But Alyssa MIlano is an activist because one of the first to use the Me Too hashtag. She didn't create the Me Too hashtag. She just dusted it off and used it to her own means in order to grow a further following on Twitter. B. Alyssa defends Joe Biden and goes against the women who accuse Joe Biden of making them feel sexually uncomfortable due to his handsiness. She goes so far to say, to make any excuse for Joe Biden. No excuse is too big that she can make for Joe Biden. I wonder, Alyssa MIlano, would you make the same excuses for someone else? I mean, in the same situation? You keep talking about how you talk to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is a great guy. And what about the women who say, not so great? And what about the women who said he made me feel uncomfortable? He made me feel icky. He creeped me out. He touched me inappropriately. What about those women? Would you be so dismissive of those charges if it was, say, an Al Franken? Where were you on the Al Franken thing? Hey, I'm not an Al Franken fan. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he can shove it. This guy overruled the will of his people there in Minnesota by giving the superdelegates to Hillary, even though Minnesota overwhelmingly went to Bernie Sanders. But that's not my point. The point of this is Al Franken wasn't accused of rape. He was accused of being sexually inappropriate. And I didn't hear you defend him. Did you feel sorry? Aziz? What about Aziz? He had a bad date. Did you come out and defend him? A woman said she had a bad date with the guy. I didn't hear you come out to defend him. Tavis Smiley, he had relationships with people that he worked with, allegedly. He lost everything. Haven't seen him since. Where were you, Alyssa MIlano? You are a spokesperson for Joe Biden. You are a carrying water for Joe Biden. You are a deflector for Joe Biden. You are an excuse maker for Joe Biden, is what you are. You are not an activist. That's a separate thing. In fact, you need to be employed by the Biden campaign. Tell Simone Sanders to move over, scoot over, give you some of that money. That's what you need to be doing. You need to be working directly for Joe Biden, not showing up on MSNBC, pretending to be an activist. Unless being an activist means defending a creepy guy who put his hands on women who didn't ask him to. And it's not only Alyssa MIlano in this clip. Rule, I think that's her name, she defended Obama. It wasn't just Alyssa MIlano. It was one of the co-hosts, Real, I think her name is. I can't pronounce it. She defends Biden. I'm getting them mixed up. It's not just Alyssa MIlano. It's also the co-host who defends Biden, saying it won't be brought up in the primaries or in the general election if Biden is to win the primary because, well, Trump's worse. So basically what you're saying is it's a wash. Yeah, it's a wash. We don't care how bad Biden is because Trump's bad. That's the actual definition of losing the moral high ground. But I think you lost the moral high ground when you even sought to seek the moral high ground. I don't think the Democratic Party has ever had the moral high ground. Only in the minds of the people that they spread propaganda to who watch CNN, MSNBC, and particularly this show. How about that? Alyssa MIlano is a Biden spokesperson and apologist. Women's rights. She said that Biden supports women's rights, and I think so he couldn't be as creepy or as bad as people lead you to believe. Alyssa MIlano, black women are women. And if you lock up black women's children like hotcakes, if you fight to continue segregation of those black women's children, both boys and girls, husbands, wives, aunts, and uncles, you are against women's rights because black women are women too. I mean, just a reminder, it's not just white women. So if you destroy black families, if you support policies that imprison black people harshly, more harshly than white counterparts, if you support, if you go against busing so that black kids can go to better schools, you support a candidate that did that, well, you're supporting a candidate who's not supporting women's rights because there are more women on the planet, more women in this country than just women who look like you, Alyssa. Bet you won't hear that often. Well, this is the worst point. Alyssa MIlano says that the voters need to focus on the mission. The mission is defeating Donald Trump. That's it. It's not to have a better country. It's not to get Medicare for all. It's not to clean up our environment. It's not to end climate change. It's not to end the prison industrial complex or the military industrial complex and tap down on the defense spending and reinvest our money in our infrastructure and get $15 an hour or a livable wage or to end mass incarceration or to turn back these draconian drug laws. No, it's none of that. To end the civil asset forfeiture that has police taking more from citizens than thieves. More property and money was taken from American citizens without trial, without conviction last year than was stolen by actual thieves who broke in their homes. But you say that's not what this campaign should be about. It should be about one thing and one thing only, and that is defeating Donald Trump. Well, I agree with Tulsi Gabbard when she says, what good would any of that be defeating Donald Trump if we end up with somebody who does the same policies, who supports the same policies that we hate? What good is it to have someone with a D on their shirt robbing and pillaging us and giving to Wall Street and the top 1%? What difference does it make if both of them are swinging an axe at you? What difference does it make whose boot is on your neck if you still got a boot on your neck? Oh, I like this boot better. It's a Ferragamo. I couldn't stand that Timberland boot on my neck. At least this is a Ferragamo boot. It goes better with my complexion. Alyssa MIlano was full of it. She goes on and she proves it when she starts talking about platitudes. Oh, I want a country to be restored to a country of truth and compassion and empathy and a bunch of other platitudes that don't mean anything. Truth. The truth is you don't have a democracy, you have an oligarchy. If you wanted truth, you wouldn't be able to sleep tonight, Alyssa MIlano. No, you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to accept the fact that that 2016 election was rigged and you were part of the rigging when you were one of those people trumpeting and carrying water for Hillary Clinton's doomed lie of a campaign that still has no message. You are part of the problem. Oh, platitude, empathy. Oh, it's empathetic how we drop bombs on poor people in brown countries. Oh, we're so empathetic. It's called robbing. It's called colonialism. It's called barbarism. All you care about is perception, because that's all you get out of this if you get rid of Donald Trump and install a Joe Biden. It's the perception that we aren't doing deportations when we were doing deportations. That we weren't just as bad under Donald Trump. Yes, we are worse in some ways than we were under Obama, but not many ways. We were deporting just as many kids. We were putting kids in cages. In fact, it was so bad that we were putting kids in cages. People in 2018 were posting pictures blaming Donald Trump of a child being in the cage. That picture was actually from 2015 under Obama, but no one knew because no one was allowed to talk about Obama's atrocities and what was going on under Obama. But you, Alyssa MIlano, are just like a lot of other people in Hollywood who seek to only maintain your status in order to ingratiate yourself to mainstream media, corporate media, and to the masses of people who have been delusionally fooled by propaganda, who go on these networks, who propagate lies and say that the world was so much better, as if before Donald Trump we were all skipping, holding hands, no one was being shot, there were no terror attacks, people weren't getting killed by cops, there was no problem with our climate, that our trade programs were great and people weren't living, 40% of black kids weren't living underneath the poverty line, that we didn't have 40% of our homeless people actually having jobs. I said 40% of our homeless people actually having jobs. But according to you, Alyssa MIlano, and the host of this horrible show, that doesn't matter because our main objective should be to get rid of Donald Trump. Well, you know what? Unlike you, I do want a better president. How dare you say the goal should not be to get the best president? The goal should always be to get the best president. Oh, we don't want the best player. We just want a player that's a player. You can't believe any of the polls that you're watching, Alyssa MIlano. Just the fact that you think it's okay to run a person like Joe Biden who has a similarly bad, and look, some people would argue even a worse record than Hillary Clinton. You think just because it's a guy that he's going to get elected. You think just because Biden is a man that we're going to all of a sudden forget about all that he's done. Hell, I had problems with Hillary Clinton. I voiced those problems continuously. But some of those problems with her just sticking her nose in her husband's candidacy, sticking her nose in her husband's presidency. Joe Biden was the guy. He was a senator enacting these policies. That's a whole different level of horrible and screwed up and backstabbing and scumbaggery and bigotry. He was actually crafting that legislation. He deserves even more ridicule than Hillary Clinton in some cases. So Alyssa MIlano, look, I don't know if you really believe it. Maybe guys, maybe it's possible that she thinks she's doing well somehow. Somehow she's truly an activist. She really believes in what she's doing and what she's saying. She thinks she helps. Well, you know what? You need to become educated if that's the case. Have I got you totally wrong? If I'm misconstruing you, if I'm just not seeing the forest for the trees, well, hell, I don't think I'm not. But hey, if it's possible, all I'm trying to tell you is that Alyssa MIlano, this was a horrible appearance, a horrible, I don't know where you got your facts from. I don't know what kind of information you've been fed or why you believe it or why you peddle it. And it is an insult that you think people are that naive not to look up any of this stuff. And I think it is hypocritical to the max that you would sit up there and defend a guy who's been accused of these things. Horrible. All right, I'm done with you. All right, guys, thank you a lot for tuning in tonight. Don't forget, my name is Real Tim Black on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Tim Black at Night on Instagram. We don't pull punches here because we don't have time to pull punches. And to the people who are upset that I called out Kamala Harris for her relationship with Willie Brown, I'll keep calling it out. You know why? Because it's true. Because Willie Brown wrote an op-ed in USA Today. And if it was Bernie Sanders accused of sleeping his way to security or to securing positions that netted him almost $500,000 in 5 years, you would never hear the end of it. I support Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders. Those are my two candidates right now. All right? I got more questions for Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren I still have questions about. But make no mistake about it, if Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders had that in their past, that they benefited from some type of cronyism in order to get their positions, we never hear the end of it. If Tulsi Gabbard was accused of sleeping with a married man in the public eye, we never hear the end of it. She wouldn't even be in office. She wouldn't even be running. She'd be so afraid that that would come out. But Kamala Harris can not only run, she don't even have to answer for it. And you think I'm the bad guy for bringing it up? I thought you'd like to win. I thought you wanted to actually have a progressive in office. We ain't going to get a progressive in office. We're not going to get one if you're afraid to hit them the same way they would hit us. Now, you don't have to do it. I'll do it for you. But let's not sit back and complain and cry a river about a neoliberal who had no empathy whatsoever for even the poorest, most disenfranchised, most vulnerable people in her state. Threatening to lock up mothers because they got kids who didn't get to school on time. Who didn't want to release inmates who were DNA, according to DNA tests, were innocent, didn't want to release them because she wanted some work in the fire department. Didn't want to shut down a prison lab where the prison lab technician was on drugs and found they had corrupted all of these specimens, all of this evidence. Who did not want to prosecute Steve Mnuchin after he fraudulently foreclosed on thousands of homes of working people. But you want to defend her and say, I'm stooping too low to call her out on an affair where she netted, once again, almost $500,000 inside of 4 or 5 years with two board of directors positions that this man gave her. But I'm the bad guy because I call that out. I think you the bad guy or you the bad woman if you don't see the horse that's left the barn a long time ago, and any form of decency, any form of ethics, it was out the window a long time ago when it comes to dealing with the Democrats. They would much rather lose, i.e. run Biden against Bernie, than let Bernie win this thing. We gotta fight fire with fire. Now, I'm not saying defame anyone. I'm not saying make up stuff on the fly. I'm not saying destroy someone's credibility unjustly. But I'm not going to stop. The hell, they were talking about Bernie Sanders, who wrote a book back in the 80s, before he was a politician, before he was mayor of Burlington, an erotic book or something, a short story or something. They brought that up. But you think I can't bring up what she did in the 90s as an elected official? Come on. We need to grow a backbone. And if you can't grow a backbone, don't follow me because your backbone will be broke messing with me because I'm not playing games. 2020 is too big. We need a revolution. And it's not going to happen when people are too timid to go after the powers that be. I speak truth to power. I'm punching up, not punching down. I see you guys around. Find me at Real Tim Black once again. Become a member of my Wolf Pack. Thank you to all my Patreons who support this channel, who support what we do here and understand we are mean sometimes, but we are meaningful always. I love y'all. See you on the next one.